Okay, today we're checking out a supernatural thriller that gets almost completely ignored. Not anymore. Hey everybody, today we're going all the way back to 1977 to check out a little supernatural thriller mixed in with courtroom drama, mixed in with family whatever. Audrey Rose. Never gets brought up, never gets talked about enough, but today we're going to try to set that straight. But before we go any further, before we look into this anymore, once again, and as always, to the trailer.
The mother, the father, the child, the stranger.
He's going to harm us. It's Ivy he's after.
The past, the present, the nightmare, the terror.
I saw her burn her hands on a cold window.
The movie. Audrey Rose, the novel of reincarnation, is now a spellbinding motion picture. The pain, the anger, the trial, the test.
Your eyelids are getting so heavy.
The question.
Audrey.
The answer.
Never the child!
The torment. The truth.
We're both a part of this child.
It will alter your ideas about life after death forever.
Okay, this motion picture was directed by Robert Wise. Now, whoa. Talk about a name you should know, and I hope you do already. Let's go down the list. We're talking, he did the Star Trek The Motion Picture. He did West Side Story. He did The Haunting, The Sand Pebbles, The Sound of Music, for Christ's sake, The Andromeda Strain, Run Silent, Run Deep, The Desert Rats, The Hindenburg, Somebody Up There Likes Me. We're talking about, he did some of the greats of all times. Man had a magical eye. He knew how to frame a picture. Just the way it was. Let's get going to the cast. Okay, playing Janice Templeton. Marsha Mason. I don't think she's ever come up in all the reviews I've done before. How crazy is that? Well, let's kick into gear. Anyway, she was in stuff like Chapter 2, and Promises in the Dark, and Cinderella Liberty, Max Dugan Returns, and Heartbreak Ridge, Drop Dead Fred, Only When I Laugh, Bloom in Love, The Cheap Detective, and a guilty pleasure movie that I shouldn't tell you about because I make a list of guilty pleasure flicks. The Goodbye Girl with Richard Dreyfuss from way back in the day. Marsha Mason, we'll get into her, what she did in this movie. Anyway, let's keep going. Playing Elliot Hoover. Come on, folks, this is one of the biggest names you're ever going to hear. Anthony Hopkins. Jesus, I don't think he ever came up on a list of movies I've done before. What the whatever. Let's kick it into gear. Anyway, he was in stuff like Magic, and A Bridge Too Far, and International Velvet, and The Elephant Man, and A Change of Seasons, and The Bounty, for God's sakes, which was amazing, and The Elephant Man, which you fucking know I love, in The Trial, and Chaplin, and Amistad, and Bobby, and The World's Fastest Indian. And let's knock off the bullshit. He will always be known mostly for, recognized mostly for, remembered mostly for playing Dr. Hannibal Lecter in The Silence of the Lambs and the subsequent flicks that came after it. It just took him from a star that was out there and doing really well, you know, he's out there, and it just right through the roof. So Anthony Hopkins is the way it is the way it goes. Let's keep going. Okay, playing Bill Templeton. John Beck. Might not jump right out after it, but once we get rolling with this, you're going to be like, son of a bitch, yeah, yeah. Okay, here we go. He was in Rollerball. He was in Sleeper. He was in Lawman. He was in The Big Boss and Sky Raiders, and he was on TV in Dallas and Paradise and Murder, She Wrote, and Santa Barbara and Matlock and Walker the Texas Ranger and Pedestrians and Bonanza in Mannix, in Mission Impossible. He was out there a lot, folks. He was out there a lot. He had a distinctive look, you know, very, very square chin guy. Anyway, he was in a lot of shit, popped up a lot. As soon as you see the face, you're going to be like, yeah, it might not be a household name, but here's what it is. Playing Ivy Templeton / Audrey Rose, Susan Swift. Not much of a career, but let's go down the list. We're talking about she was in stuff like Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. Yeah, you shouldn't watch that either. Harper Valley PTA. Yeah, on TV and like Magnum PI and Simon and Amazing Stories and The Chisholms and The Six of Us. Career really didn't take off that big. You know, she didn't really go on to a lot of big things. But she was in this and fucking, hey, good enough. Playing Brice Mack, Robert Walden. Oh yeah, you might recognize the face, especially if you're like my age. Is what it is. Let's kick it. We're talking about he was in some old stuff like All the President's Men and Capricorn 1 and the Radioland Murders. And on TV, you know, Happily Divorced, Melrose Place, Brothers, you know, Hotel, Laverne and Shirley, Streets of San Francisco, and the one that for some reason for me, whenever I think of this guy, the first thing I go to is Lou Grant, the TV show Lou Grant. He's just like, bam, he's just burned in my head from there. I almost have a hard time imagining anything else, even though I've seen him in a bunch of other shit. Just the way it goes. Let's keep going. Thanks, Scott. John Hillerman. Let's do this. You're going to know them. He was in stuff like Soap and Heart to Heart and Simon and One Day at a Time and Magnum P.I., and Valerie, and The Love Boat. And he even popped up on Lou Grant too, just like Walden. In Hawaii Five-0, in Mannix, and he was in fucking a lot of movies too. I mean, we're talking Paper Moon, and Blazing Saddles, and Chinatown, and High Plains Drifter, and Lucky Lady. So, this guy was in a bunch of shit. Movies, television, almost equally so. For some reason, I think of him more as a TV guy because his roles were bigger there. But didn't matter. He was in a lot of big shit, a lot of good movies, just the way it was. Okay, everybody, we're going to try to keep this 90 seconds or less so we can keep it fast, keep it entertaining, keep it moving. And so we can all get to that place we'd rather be, the summation. This movie starts out on a grim note. There's a car going down the road. Mother, child. Before you know it, somebody crosses the middle divider, headed into him. Bam. End of story. Is what it is. Horrific, horrible. Takes place in 1965. A few minutes later, you see that the movie picks up 11 years later. And you see this loving husband and this beautiful wife and their daughter, and they're just having the time of their lives being with each other. They're out riding bikes, touring the city, doing what they do. Until they start to notice something a little bit odd. There's this character, this guy. He just keeps popping up wherever they go. Keeps popping up wherever they are. On buses, stores, especially at the school. Finally, you know, things start getting a little bit too much to handle. And Janice says, there's something wrong. This guy's following me. I don't know what's going on. Her husband looks into it. He starts noticing. Sees this guy everywhere. Notice there's something wrong. Goes to the police for help. They say he hasn't bugged you. Ain't nothing we can do. Finally, they wind up having an encounter with this man. Finally, the man says, hey, I'd like to sit down and have dinner with you guys. Where he gives them the story of a lifetime. He tells them, I believe that your daughter, Ivy, is the reincarnation of my daughter, Audrey Rose. See, he spent a lot of time in India learning about what happens to the spirit after it dies, how it moves on. All this, of course, was spurred on by the fact that he had a couple chance encounters with a couple psychics who told him his wife's dead, his daughter ain't, and she's in this place, in a place that looks like that, living in this city, in a bedroom that looks like this, and you need to find her. Weird shit. Well, the Templetons, they don't really take that well to this. But at the same time, Audrey Rose is going through these night terrors, these horrible, horrible nightmares that nobody can figure out, nobody can understand, nobody can quell. But the only person who can take her out of one of these things is right, Elliot Hoover. Daddy number one. Anyway, not going to get too much more into it than that. A lot of things happen. He gets accused of kidnapping. The court trial. All kinds of shit. But you'll see. You'll figure that out. You'll watch it and get it as it goes along. So I ain't going to give you no more of the story than that. Let's get to the summation. Okay, everybody, let's get to brass taxes. Does this movie work? Yeah, this movie works. Is it perfect? Is it flawless? Nah, I'm not going to go that far. But this motion picture definitely works. Let's get the normal things out of the way first. Directing? Come on, man. It was directed by Robert Wise. You know the man is a great director. You know he can deliver. Directing, out of the equation. The writing? Good enough. You know what I mean? Nothing's going to blow your mind, but it's good writing, maybe even slightly above average, so not bad. Dialogue is great. Story moves along. Acting. Here's where we kick it into gear. There are two standouts in this motion picture, people. Two. Marsha Mason and Anthony Hopkins. They deliver. I mean, they deliver huge. Marsha Mason is just amazing in this motion picture as the tormented, ripped apart mom. You watch her when they're doing the hypnotist scene, just what she does with her face. She doesn't even have to give any lines of dialogue. She doesn't even have to deliver anything to say. Her performance is riveting, off the chart, phenomenal. I mean, she is one of the things that really makes this motion picture, people. She really puts it together. Obviously, Anthony Hopkins is amazing as Elliot Hoover, as the long-lost dad to this reincarnated whoever. Anthony Hopkins brings it. He delivers. He's at one point creepy, at one point sympathetic, at one point a little bit upset and angry. No matter what, though, he brings all those emotions, he puts them into that character, and he nails you over the face with them. And let's be honest, those guys, to a degree, make up for the, let's just say, semi-lack of acting of a couple other characters. I hate to ever ridicule a child actor, but Susan Swift was a little bit, I thought, mechanical as a child. She could scream well, she could spin in circles and punch glass and all that kind of stuff. And they did ask a lot of this kid, you know what I'm saying? They're asking her to go through the range of emotions of an 11-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 2-year-old, and she did her best to do it. But it wasn't one of the greatest child performances ever. We're not talking Ricky Schroeder and the Champ or something, folks. She does well, but she doesn't do great. Is what it is. And John Beck, let's face it, he comes across as kind of an unlikable asshole of a husband. Just the way it goes. Never thought his range was amazing. He doesn't really show great range here. Shows anger a couple times. Nothing over the top. Is what it is. Now that we're past that, does the movie deliver on what it's supposed to deliver on? Sure. With some side bends. If you liked movies back in the day like The Changeling, this isn't as good as that. But it's good. If you like Burnt Offerings, this probably ain't as good as that. But it's good. But if you like movies that fall into that vibe, that feel, that genre, then you will definitely like Audrey Rose. Yeah, about midway through, you feel like the movie kind of takes a right turn for a little bit and kind of, you're like, wow, how did we get here? Where it goes from literally this supernatural thriller to a slight courtroom drama. And you're like, wait a minute, you know what I mean? It's like, how did we get here? But the movie starts to go back into the supernatural again, and you kind of feel like you get put back on the right track. It was a diversion. It was a little weird, but it was what it was. There's a couple times in the movie, I don't know if they did in the editing room, I don't know what the fuck they were thinking, where they would just like freeze a still image of something on there, or they would throw in this stuff about, you know, the Indian religion and everything like that, and you would start to see stuff that almost looked like stock footage out of a documentary, and you're like, why is this popping up in this motion picture? So there are complaints. But overall, for a movie to sit down for a couple hours and check out that gets criminally overlooked, you should watch it just for the performances of Marsha Mason and Anthony Hopkins in and of itself. And the story's kind of cool. It's kind of entertaining. You got a girl born 2 seconds after the death of another man's child, and, well, shit happens. I don't want to give away too much. But the premise is interesting. The performances are great. The movie is interesting. It's stunning to look at, with a couple of caveats of freeze framing and documentary shit put in there. And maybe there's a little bit of a feeling that they put too much into it. Like there's kind of everything in the kitchen sink. You got, you know, religious philosophy, you got religious mysticism, you got a supernatural thriller, you got a courtroom drama, you got a family drama, you got a lot going on. But in and of itself, as a motion picture that shouldn't be overlooked, that shouldn't be forgotten, and definitely should be watched and appreciated, gotta say, you should check this flick out. Okay, everybody, time to go. Thanks again for tuning in. Means the world to me. Appreciate it very much. You guys are awesome. Be good. Stay out of trouble. Help a friend. Be kind to a neighbor. Do whatever you can to help a stranger. And above all else, no matter what, never take any bullshit from anybody. See you soon.